Hey everyone, welcome to Moving Matt. We do vlogs, travel, and some camera stuff. And today is going to be my review of the Canon RF 85mm f2 micro IS STM lens. Now, I've had this lens for a couple of months now, but I've only recently feel like I've had enough user experience to give a really solid opinion. So that's why it's taken me so long to make this video. First, I will touch base on the build quality and give my first impressions, and then I will show you some of the results that I've had from it, and then I'll actually do a comparison between this and the RF 85mm f1.2 DS lens from Canon. So why compare a $600 lens to a $3,000 lens, you may ask? Well, I rented that lens a while back, so I already kind of had the pictures and videos. They're both 85, so I thought, why not? And then at the end of this video, I'll give my final thoughts and let you know who I think this lens may be for, if anyone. Now, starting off with build quality, I will say that when I first picked up this lens, it did kind of feel, well, a little cheap, and I know it is a very budget-friendly lens, but I was shocked at kind of how plasticky it did feel. But even though my initial impressions were that it's kind of light and cheap, I still feel like it's sturdy enough, and I kind of like it that way. And when it comes to like the $3,000 lens, it's an extremely high quality, but it doesn't have the in-body image stabilization. And man, that thing was a tank. I mean, it was heavy. And of course it felt high quality because it is a high quality lens, but it's not something that I would want to use on a normal basis for that reason. Now, one of the things I do like for sure is all the switches that they have here that you can turn off the stabilization, your autofocus. And then also this one is kind of interesting. This is because this is a macro lens as well. This allows you to change your focus distance. I usually just keep it on full because I just want the full range of what it can do. But if you're primarily using this for macro photography, then I'm sure this is extremely helpful. Another thing I really like about it, and I really like about pretty much all RF lenses that I've used personally, I think they might be for all Canon RFs, is that they give you this extra little ring here that you can customize to whatever you want. I usually set this custom ring to be ISO for me, because if I'm vlogging, granted I wouldn't vlog on a lens like this, and it'd be like a nose vlog, but if I'm vlogging, I want to be able to set my ISO really fast. But let me go ahead and show you some of the results I got out of this lens, and maybe you can better make a decision for yourself. Okay, here are some test pictures that I took. We had a pretty good snow here in Tennessee. We usually don't get a good snow. So I went outside and I took some pictures of the family. This is my mom. This was shot wide open at f2 at 5,000th of a second and shot at ISO 400. Now, honestly, I do not know why I shot these photos at 400 ISO. I think that I was maybe shooting in C-Log prior to this, and 400 is the native ISO for C-Log, so I just think I forgot to change it. But 400 ISO on a full frame camera isn't really a big deal, and you don't get any noise patterns from it. As you can see, hopefully, these photos look very sharp to me, and I really like the bokeh pattern. It seems to really blow out the background, even at f2, considering that a lot of people think maybe f2 isn't enough, but at 85mm, it really is enough. This is another picture right here, again with the same settings. Most of these are the same settings, and I will tell you if they change. But yeah, I think this is a very sharp picture and very clear, and obviously, you know, good colors, but that's Canon for you. And now this picture here I thought was really cool. This is actually shot at 2500th of a second, but he was throwing a snowball, and I think it was still very sharp. And I will zoom in here and show you that his eye is actually in focus, and I thought that was really cool. Even with the EOS R, it catches focus and it's nailing it on the eye, and that is an action shot, so I thought that was rather impressive. Okay, this next picture here is of my wife. She's actually pregnant with our first child, and that's really exciting. She wanted me to take some pictures of her, and I look forward to taking more pictures of her as she continues to grow, and of course when the baby gets here as well. The wide open 2 with 1/5000th of a second and the ISO of 400. One thing I really like about these pictures is the bokeh pattern on the snowflakes here, and I thought it did a really good job of still capturing her eye and not getting distracted with all the different snow that was coming down. It was actually coming down pretty hard,
And so I thought it was rather impressive, especially for the EOS R, and so it really does a good job. I can only imagine what it would do on a camera like the R5 or R6. Now, I admit I did maybe blow out a little bit the highlights on my dog here, but I didn't really notice it until post, and she absolutely loves this picture because of my dog Bella with hers, so of course I just had to make it work. Maybe if I remembered to drop that ISO to 100, that would have helped. Now this next picture here is of my niece. I really liked how it turned out, and I think it shows that when you get close, it really does blur out that background. Now quickly let me transition to a few of the pictures from the f1.2 that I had, and of course you can tell a difference in the sharpness, and the background is definitely more blown out and smoother, but that is a $3,000 lens versus a $600 lens. So yeah, can't really complain with the results you're getting out of a $600 lens compared to that. Now here is the lens in video. I do find that in video it does a pretty good job. It's not perfect, but I do like the way it blurs out the background, and I do like the way it pulls focus. I think it does a really good job. Now here it is compared to the 1.2. It is quite a bit better and sharper and blows out the background even more, and it pulls focus quite a bit more impressively. I do find a little bit of hunting with the f2, but again, it's a $600 lens, and it's pretty great for what it is. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't throw in at least a couple macro pictures, and here is a little bit of moss that was growing on a statue, and then a blade of grass with some flowers. I am not a macro photographer by any means, please don't judge that, but at least you can see how it performs, and I do think it's pretty impressive that you can zoom in and it stays very sharp. I again can only imagine what it would be like on the R5 with those 45 megapixels versus the 32 that is on the EOS R.
Okay, what are my final thoughts on this lens? Who is this lens for? Well, if you are on the RF system and you want a really solid portrait lens, then this is probably for you. Is the image quality going to compare to the $2,600 and $3,000 f1.2? Absolutely not. But those are extremely niche lenses, and I would say that for the quality and price point, 90% of RF portrait photographers would be better off with this. And that's not to take anything away from those lenses, because those are pretty incredible, but it's just to say that most people can't afford that unless you are a very high-end portrait photographer and like that's all that you do. If you're someone like me who takes some portraits every now and then, even gets paid to take some portraits every now and then this will completely get the job done, and you can get some really high quality photos out of this, and I hope you've seen that for yourself. Also, if you were somebody who does a video, especially like run and gun work, then I absolutely recommend this because it's quite a bit lighter, and it also has the image stabilization, and that really helps with handheld shots. One thing that I didn't like with using that 1.2 when I took it on that trip is that it was, extremely heavy and it didn't have any image stabilization. And I currently use an EOS R, so it doesn't have any, actual optical image stabilization in it. It has the digital stabilization, but it didn't do a very good job with that particular lens. And so I think if you're a run and gun shooter, then you're gonna want something more like this than you would want, the best of the best, the $2,600 or the $3,000 DS version. But I think this is a really great lens, and I'm glad that Canon decided to make a more economically friendly version of the 85. And I think they did a really good job. And I think if you're somebody that's looking for an 85, then you will not be disappointed with this. So I hope this video is giving you a little clarity on this lens if you're someone that's trying to decide if you want to buy this or not. And if you already have this lens, drop in the comment section below and let me know, what has your experience been with it? And do you like it or do you not like it? And also, if you've liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And until next time, peace.